Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I have read loads of property books over the past 2 years, and one thing that I've learned from reading these is that by having the best knowledge possible when you're getting started, you can avoid making some really easy mistakes, but really hit the ground running. And today I'm going to take you through my top 5 book recommendations in the property investing world, and I'm going to go through the synopsis, some of the top quotes from the book, and some of my takings and thoughts from each particular book. I've popped Amazon links to all the books down in the description so you can check them out and have a look, and if you fancy buying them, then definitely go ahead. There's actually a lot of rubbish books out there on the market, and they're essentially just a sales funnel into property training courses. So today I've separated the monkeys from the barrels, and I'm going to take you through some really good and solid property books. And I've categorized these into 3 genres, which is property, finance, and business mindset. If you're new here, my name's Matt. I work for a bank by day, I invest in property on the side, and I simplify insights on property, productivity, and tech. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the channel for loads more property videos, and if you fancy it, please hit the like button just below because it massively helps me out. So let's jump right in. Here are my top 5 property book recommendations, and the first category is finance. Now, Rich Dad Poor Dad is the holy Bible and holy grail of the property investing world. There are so many property investors who read this book and were inspired by the thinking, and to some it actually might be obvious. They may have grown up understanding the difference between assets and liabilities and really thinking about what a balance sheet means within a business. But when I first read this book, I wasn't really aware of that particular world. I was thinking about it subconsciously, but never quite understood or thought about it in a lot of detail, and it completely blew my mind. So the book really is about a guy called Robert Kiyosaki and his 2 different dads. Now, one of his dads was his biological dad, and then the other was his best friend's dad, and these 2 dads had different careers. One was a very clever, educated professional working within a corporate company and working on a salary, and the other was a business owner who had lots of different businesses. But the interesting thing in the book is that both fathers had very different views on wealth and finance and money, and that really shaped Robert's views on finance itself. And the book teaches that you don't need lots of money to be classed as wealthy, and actually Robert goes on to explain in the book that wealth is a measure of how long you could survive if your income stops tomorrow. For example, if you have a £100,000 salary and you have a great job in the UK, but you have massive outgoings. You might have really expensive cars to pay for, you might have a massive mortgage, you may send kids to private school. So actually, if you lost that job tomorrow, how long could you survive paying all of those costs that you have today? Versus if you earned £1,000 a month and that was it, so 12k a year, and you had very minimal outgoings, you might actually be able to survive longer with your current outgoings and lifestyle than what the person earning £100,000 a year would be able to. Yes, you've got the luxuries and the nice things, but they're not assets, they're liabilities. And that leads me on to the third point of the book, that Robert teaches us that the rich buy assets that then pay for liabilities rather than your income coming in and then paying for those liabilities directly. For example, that could be a brand new sports car, a very expensive mobile phone, a very expensive house mortgage, and so on. This book is great for anyone who's a brand new property investor or just generally interested in the economy and how finance really works on a personal and business level. Now, Robert doesn't go into any strategies about how to make money. It's more about the thought of money itself and how you should be managing it within your own personal estate. One of the major things that I took away from this book was the power of corporations and limited companies. Now, if you have a limited company, what Robert teaches is that traditionally we pay the government first through taxes, national insurance, student loan repayments, etc. And what the book teaches us is that we should pay ourselves first within the company. So you should have a limited company and be putting through legitimate expenses to pay for your company, and then whatever's left then goes to the government at the end of it, rather than paying them first and thus reducing your tax liability. And one of the quotes that I absolutely love in the book is when Robert says, "So many people say, oh, I'm not interested in money. Yet they'll work at a job for 8 hours a day, and people that think their job makes them secure are only lying to themselves." Now, the second book recommendation is within the property genre, and that is The Complete Guide to Property Investment: How to Survive and Thrive in the New Buy-to-Let World. Now, this is a book by Rob Dix. If you don't know who Rob Dix is, he's a very well-known author and property investor. He co-runs the Property Hub, and they have a fantastic, very popular podcast within the UK. And this book really explains the property strategies and tactics and process of buying a property from the very start all the way until the end. And it's a very realistic, grounded book, and that's why I love it. And to summarise this book, Rob has 2 great statements on the back of his blurb, and he says, "Over the last 20 years, more than 1 million Brits have made life-changing profits from buy-to-let. But as prices keep rising and the tax landscape changes, investors need to get smarter in order to succeed." He then goes on to say, The book starts by demonstrating with real-life examples a range of strategies suited to achieving different investment goals. Only then does it take you step by step through every aspect of researching, financing, buying, and managing investment properties. So I think this book is great for anyone who's brand new to property investing and you just want a nice kind of crash course into the industry and really just understanding the basics of what it's all about and really what you should be thinking about first of all. It's a very realistic but inspirational book that covers the basics of a lot of the strategies and gives you a lot of food for thought on what you should be doing first. And there's also loads of downloadable goodies that you'll get if you sign up to Rob's mailing list that he puts within the book as well, so you can learn more about the property investing strategies in more detail. The next book that I recommend in the property genre is How to Be a Landlord, and again it's by Rob Dix. And he has a great summary for the book which says, take a property, throw in a tenant and watch the money roll in. This seemingly simple formula has attracted nearly 2 million people in the UK to become landlords, but the reality is it's a whole lot more complicated. And he goes on to explain if you miss one piece of documentation or a certificate, it could make it very hard to evict a tenant from a house, especially if they're not paying their rent. The book is really simple and very entertaining, and it covers everything from researching, advertising potential tenants, what you need to provide to every single tenant that is within the house, and also talks about some of the difficult scenarios that could arise if you are a landlord. And even if you're looking to use a managing agent, it's just good to know what is involved in the process so you know whether you've got a good managing agent or not. Now, I listened to this book as an audiobook, so I don't have the physical copy, but it is on my to-do list to either buy it on Kindle or buy a physical book because there are so many amazing notes within this book, and I actually want to go through and write it all down and put some sticky notes in there because there is lots to learn from this book. It's very practical and Rob is continually updating it as well. Now, for me, I think this book is great again for brand new property investors. If you are an accidental landlord looking to step up your game and be more professional and tick all the compliance boxes, or if you're just looking to understand what is involved within the letting process, again, this book is super useful. Now, the next book is within the business mindset section, and the fourth book that I recommend is Atomic Habits by James Clear. Now, the book teaches you about how creating atomic habits and making small changes every single day can be the profound, powerful impact that create a compounding effect. And he goes on to explain that bad habits don't repeat themselves because you don't want to change, it's because you have the wrong system for change. And the whole mantra of the book is that if you're willing to stick with a habit for many, many years over a long period of time, then guaranteed you'll start to see some incredible results, especially after the effect of compounding. Now, for me, this was a life-changing book, and in the property investing world, I see so many investors who are very strong about goal setting and setting a 3-year plan and a 5-year plan, which is great. They also do things like vision boards as well, which I think is a nice thing to do. But what James teaches in the book and what really opened my eyes is that by setting a goal, that does not guarantee any success whatsoever. Think about the last time you set a 3 or 5 year goal, and when was the last time you actually hit that goal? You may have exceeded it, which is fantastic, or you may have been nowhere near it or completely pivoted in whatever it was you're doing. And what the book explains is that it's really about the systems and processes that we put in place and practice day after day after day, that it's a small change here and a small change there, but over a long period of time, the impact of that can be completely profound. And what he teaches is that it's not the goal that makes the difference, it's the habits and the systems and processes. Every candidate wants the job, every Olympian wants the gold medal, so it's not goals that set us apart, it's our systems and processes. And simply, we don't rise to the level of our goals, we fall to the level of our systems. I think this book would be a great read for anyone who is a massive goal setter, and actually I think you'll be really surprised and your mind will be shifted a little bit in terms of your thinking in your business and how you hit those goals, because the goal is merely the outcome. James Clear in the book explains that it's not just about the outcome, it's about the process and the identity within it. And one amazing quote that I love from the book is, "Time magnifies the margin between success and failure. It will multiply whatever you feed it. Good habits make time your ally, and bad habits make time your enemy." And the last book that I recommend, still part of the business mindset genre, is Tim Ferriss's The 4-Hour Workweek. Now, this is quite an old book, but it's still roughly relevant today. In the book, Tim teaches us to be effective, not efficient, validate all of your business ideas, and charge a premium to suit your lifestyle. Now, Tim Ferriss has actually gone on to create a really successful public brand. He's got an incredible podcast that I recommend you have a listen to. He also has a blog as well. But in the book, Tim talks about the 80-20 rule, or otherwise known as the Pareto principle. And what this means is that about 80% of the consequences come from 20% of the causes. To bring this to life, for example on YouTube, typically what a lot of big YouTubers see is that 80% of their demand and subscribers and views and watch time come from only 20% of their videos. And what Tim teaches is that you should be really learning to focus on that 20% that generates the biggest impact. He also is a massive advocate of outsourcing within your business, and this is what I really took away from the book. It wasn't about the nomadic lifestyle and working on a beach in Thailand and being able to afford a kind of cheaper living. It was just really about automating a lot of your processes. And if you have some mundane tasks in your business that you don't want to do day by day, then you can free up your time and pay a virtual assistant to do that for you, thus leaving you to be able to focus on that 20%. He also touches on the book quite a lot around pricing and understanding the difference between quantity and quality. Now, he uses an example. If you had a bottle that you were selling for $10 and you needed to make £4,000 a month, then therefore you'd have to sell 400 bottles just to make that kind of money. Whereas if you sold those bottles for £40 or $40 each, you only need to sell 100, therefore there's less effort to sell them. And he talks about how in sales, the big challenge is convincing someone from not wanting to give you money to wanting to give you money. And once they've made that decision and that mindset shift, it's really negotiable how much they're actually going to pay you, because by that point they've decided they want to give you money. You could argue this is quite familiar with brands like Apple, where people are more than happy to pay a huge premium for the latest iPhone, the latest MacBook, because that brand is there and people have decided that they want to give Apple their money. I think this book would be great for people who are just starting out a business and are really relying on the digital and tech side of things, just like me, to really run the business and make it as effective and efficient as possible. In the future, I'd love to hire a team to help with my YouTube videos and editing and researching and script writing, as well as in the property business, finding virtual assistants to help with a lot of the day-to-day research and task management as well. So for me, it was a great inspirational book to really think about how I could use that in the future and utilize it. And one awesome quote that I love within the book is, "Doing something unimportant well does not make it important." So that's it for the top 5 books that I recommend in the property world. I pop links to all of them in the description so you can check them out on Amazon. I hope you found this video useful. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the channel for loads more property videos. And if you want to watch any more, you can check some out just like this one just here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.